Fourth, mind power. Now people might say, how is this a mind power? This sounds, no, this is a mind power. Being, essence, mind. I don't know how they got in there. Being, essence, mind. Being, essence, mind. Being the essence mind. Do you follow? The capacity that we have as our small mind to resolve its content mind back into source. Small mind is content mind. Small mind is useful. We need it to calculate, to add, subtract, multiply, divide, to speak, to write, to think, to plan, you know. But all of that is very object-oriented, process-oriented, and what we want to do at some point is relax that mind. In fact, almost everything we do in our system is to learn how to relax that mind and its energies back into source. Chaitanyam Atma, back into the self as all. This is what we call recalibration. So if the small mind, even for moments, is able to recalibrate and relax back into source, it touches its source, it touches its essence, and it becomes reified. It recalibrates, it gets stronger, clearer, more luminous, more effulgent. Then when we come back into the world of using the small mind in normal daily activities, it's purified in a sense, this word purified. It still retains more of the link to essence mind. The more we dip into essence mind with small mind and dissolve it, and then reform it and dissolve it and reform it, like say in Tattva Shuddhi, good example, we tend to bring that essence along with it and have less of a, it's more of an unbroken continuity between essence mind and small mind. So the capacities of essence mind, which are unlimited, you see, start to show up through our small mind. Small mind and essence mind become kind of linked in a way that they're hard to separate at some point. So all the fantastic capacities of Shiva, of Shakti, you know, of the universe, of Parashiva, Parashakti, all these capacities start to show up within a human being and appear to be very normal. An example would be like Neem Karoli Baba, who many people knew that he was extremely omniscient. He had this great capacity for omniscience, and he was a tantrika, right? I have a really great photo of him doing his early tantric sadhana when he had long hair and he was skinny before he was really big, and he's sitting there with all his bells and his skulls and accoutrement, really cool. So he was this kind of a tantrika, this guy. So he had great omniscience. You know, one of the turning points for Ram Dass to go towards spirituality, if you ever heard of Ram Dass, was when Neem Karoli Baba tuned into him far away on a hotel balcony as he was crying, looking at the moon, thinking of his mother and missing his mother. And when Ram Dass showed up a few days later, he said, "How are you now? You were really crying, really missing your mother on the balcony of the hotel that night." And it flipped him out. It just blew up his small mind. His small mind had no, he was a psychologist. He thought all spiritual phenomena was related to psychology, you know, some strange perceptual experience in your brain, you know, but this he couldn't account for. Your brain was over here, 100 miles away. My brain was over here. How did you see me doing that? How did you know what I felt? You know, his mind went crazy. You know, so this was just one of the things he would demonstrate with his mind powers. The other part Neem Karoli Baba was famous for was his students in the 60s would test him by feeding him LSD all the time, and then nothing would happen. So he was always very big on, you know, he was in complete control. What is a little chemical to a person who is the universe? It's nothing. You see what I mean? So this is touching into essence mind, resolving the content mind back into source, abiding for a while, experiencing your essence nature, bringing it back out, keeps purifying it, dipping in and bringing it out until the fusion, cohesion occurs. And they're just mirroring each other in the dance of life. And this is the enlightened mind, right? Enlightened beings still speak sometimes, they still calculate sometimes, they still have a good talk or a joke, who knows, whatever. They're not limited. But that small mind becomes like, you know, if this is the big mind, and that beautiful frangipani, here's this beautiful hibiscus is like the big mind underneath, and the frangipani is connected to it. They're both flowers. One is, you know, unlimited, and the other one is expressing more limited nature, the smaller, but they're connected. It's underneath the whole time. Over time, Mahasiddhas get closer and closer between the two until they become one, until it's just like, you know, essence mind and small mind are just sitting there together as one. And usually that's not too long before they light body, right, in that kind of experience. Okay, so that's being essence mind. That is a mind power. It is something we have to train for to be able to relax into that essence state. The fifth power of mind is power of manifestation. We take the sitting in essence, we bring it back like this fusion example that I just gave out here, and this is the next power of mind. It involves having the power to create, having the power to sustain, having the power to dissolve or resolve situations. Right? These are the powers of the ultimate realization of Shakti Shiva. Right? Creation, maintenance, and dissolution. Now we're talking about very high level Mahasiddhas, like Virupaksha. You know, it's one thing to have control over your own body temperature or, you know, stop your heart, but when you start controlling things outside yourself at ease, that is an amazing accomplishment that Mahasiddhas are famous for. And that's this 5th level. It's higher than all of them. Right? It's higher than all of them. There's sort of a progression here. Psychic capacities could be taken out, but otherwise there's a progression there in general in spiritual practice of the mind, how to get mind powers. The ultimate one is not just relaxing into essence and being your enlightenment. That's great, because then you know, you're free. You're liberated. But now, the person who goes beyond that and says liberation and non-liberation are indistinct. It doesn't matter anymore. The transcendental, the immanent, the above, the beyond, all these distinctions are useless, and they become like full-on siddha, mahasiddha. That's a different level of being. Virupaksha Mahasiddha was walking along, and he went into a pub in those days, an inn, a traveler's inn, and he started drinking all the wine. And the shopkeeper came over and said, you know, you've been drinking a lot of wine. I don't see any money yet. I just want to check with you. Do you have enough money? Because Virupaksha was kind of a wild dude. He didn't want to rile him too much. And he said, no, I have money. I need money. Anyway, keep serving me, keep serving me. And the guy said, well, I need to see some payment. He goes, I'll pay you when you close. When do you close? He goes, I close after sundown. Virupaksha said, okay, just keep bringing wine. So the guy brought in wine, and as he brought that wine, he went, like this mudra is famous for him. He made this mudra, deer mudra, pointed it at the sun, and did his cuckoo eye thing, and the sun stopped in the sky. So he just kept drinking, and held the sun at the sky like this for hours and hours. And then finally the shopkeeper was like, oh dear, this is not a normal person. I think he let him go with the bill after that. He sort of didn't ask him for the money. So this sounds like a fanciful tale, right? But many of us who have traveled India, Nepal, Tibet, you know, China, have seen extraordinary things. I've witnessed very extraordinary things of manipulation of situations outside oneself. Not a David Blaine magic show either, the real deal. So multiple from different masters. So this is quite attainable, and this is a very high level experience, okay? So I'll end the talk with that, because you can't really do that. You know, you can't really like have a technique that'll give you that. This is a fruit of your spiritual path if that's meant for you in your destiny, okay? Any questions, anything come in? Nobody has a question, yeah, from overseas.
So for us, it kind of seems like we're working with 1 and 2, and then 3 and 4 and 5 may arise in our lifetime if they're appropriate, but really we don't need to think about them too much at the stage that we're in.
Well, you have to speak for yourself, because some people could be working here, some people could be working here, you know. 1 and 2 is definitely where people work in the beginning, but psychic capacities are definitely important. I've given those sadhanas to people that need them in their development. Being essence mind, certainly I've been teaching that in different retreats over many years, and some people just work at that level too. Yeah? So it's not so much like I just beat the heck out of these and work them like crazy and these just happen. It's not that simple. That's true for this level. And it's almost true for this. This 4th level of mind powers is kind of like, well, you have to work hard, but you also have to know how to surrender. You have to be able to do both simultaneously to achieve the 4th, and that's difficult. And you're sort of developing that all the way through. See, here's hard work, here's surrender. So you learn the first 2 poles right here. Here's the hard work, here's the surrender. I said you could skip 3 because it's not necessary for everybody. So if this is the hard work and this is surrender, they have to come together here perfectly to achieve number 4. So you have to have your skills like this to get to here, but some people could be working all the way through, right? This is the only one that you really, you know, we can't say anything about it. We'll leave it at that. I don't want to talk about it. Good. Any other question? Mind powers?
How does, was it 1st and 2nd concentration? Or 1st and 2nd mind?
2nd attention.
Oh, 2nd attention.
Yeah. How does that relate to a duality?
To duality. Well, duality is, you know what duality is, right? It's when our experiences of the object world, right? In fact, this is the next lecture that we're going to do on the webinar, is the 4 ways of being. So I'll give you a little in here. The first way of being is the way of objects. We experience ourselves as separate from everything. In Tantra we call this the anavamala. We're all born with it. We're born with this experience. So we experience ourselves as an object. As soon as we do that, we experience the whole universe as an object. objects. Even if there's processes going on, we still feel separate from that process and so on to some degree. And that's the source of our discontentment and why we're always seeking and dissatisfied and so on, desire, ambition, etc. So we know that we're in that condition, so we have to bridge that gap of object consciousness. The first thing we have to do is stay awake, aware, to actually bridge that gap. Because when we fall back into the slumber of the normal mind, the yogins say normal people sleep while they're awake, right? As soon as we're in that, with our mind just going with those 70,000 thoughts a day, those thoughts are all object-oriented thoughts. Whether it's internal, where it's me and the thing I'm thinking of, or it's me and you, an external, internal or external, it's duality. When we want to get through that trance of duality, we have found over thousands of years in this tradition that the second attention is crucial to cut that trance. So if I remain aware all the time of my breath, or my lower kumbha, or a mantra, or the bindu, whatever colored bindu in my being, whatever, and I recommend the physical ones first, then I'm already staying awake. Only in the awake state do I have the possibility of beginning to dissolve the separation anxiety, dissolve this sense of separation. Only in the awake state. If I'm in a discursive mind state, I can't do it. So that's why we believe that the foundation of everything is second attention for integration practice. Taking the great skills we get on the cushion every day and bringing them into being through second attention. That creates the possibility for non-duality. And in fact, we've moved closer to non-duality simply by coming out of the trance of duality and having it be not such a concretized, robotic first reaction all the time. Yeah. So we're already moving towards a sense of non-duality. If I'm able to go up and have that pause, I stay with my breath and I look at you, and the next thing I can say, I can start to feel into, well, maybe we're not really separate. Maybe your breath becomes my breath when I breathe it in. Maybe the tree's oxygen gives me it and I give it the carbon dioxide. I can just stay open to that feeling. And then if I cultivate that feeling, it can become more real in my experience, in my body, and I can become, in a non-dual sense, enlightened. Yeah. So very foundational in that way towards non-duality. Good question. Okay. Good? Good? Until then, try to stay aware, stay in love and compassion. Namaste.